Cuba gave a farewell to our comandante Fidel.
Por eso hoy aquí estamos, junto al hermano pueblo zimbabuense, para despedir a su querido líder y ratificar la indestructible solidaridad y hermandad de Cuba para continuar por nuestros caminos, como una forma de honrar la memoria de nuestros líderes y los deseos de nuestros pueblos.
That's why we are here today, to say goodbye to our friend and to ratify the unbreakable solidarity and brotherhood between Cuba and Zimbabwe that shall continue with new paths and to honor our leaders and our peoples.
Una vez más, reciba el pueblo zimbabuense, su gobierno y los familiares del querido camarada Mugabe las más sentidas condolencias de nuestro pueblo cubano, que siempre será un hermano de Zimbabue, en la seguridad que siempre tendremos en la memoria al querido camarada Robert Mugabe.
Once again, may the people of Zimbabwe receive, together with the government and all the relatives of our beloved comrade Mugabe, the deepest condolences of the people of Cuba that shall always be sister nation of Zimbabwe, and we shall always keep in our minds comrade Robert Mugabe.
Viva la indestructible amistad entre Cuba y Zimbabue.
Long live the unbreakable friendship between Cuba and Zimbabwe.
Gloria eterna al camarada Robert Mugabe.
Eternal glory and rest in peace, comrade Robert Mugabe.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for those comforting words, Your Excellency Vice President Wu. As we continue to receive messages, may I now invite Mr. Gu Shenzhou, the special envoy from China, to deliver his message. Mr. Gu Shenzhou, sir.
尊敬的蒙兰加布瓦总统，各位政要、女士们、先生们，我非常荣幸作为中国国家主席习近平的特使，出席津巴布韦前总统孟加贝先生的葬礼。习近平主席已于第一时间向蒙兰加布瓦总统发来电电，电文全文如下。
Your Excellency, President Emerson Mnangagwa, Your Excellencies, distinguished dignitaries, ladies and gentlemen, it is a great honor for me to come here as Special Envoy of His Excellency President Xi Jinping of the People's Republic of China to attend the state funeral of the late former President Robert Gabriel Mugabe. After learning of the unfortunate passing of Mr. Mugabe, President Xi immediately sent a message of condolences to President Mnangagwa. Here, please allow me to read it to you.
今续穆加贝前总统不幸逝世，我谨代表中国政府和中国人民，并以我个人的名义，对此表示沉痛的哀悼，向你并通过你，向津巴布韦政府和人民以及穆加贝先生亲属致以诚挚的慰问。
It is with great sadness that I learn of the unfortunate passing of former President Robert Mugabe. I wish to express, on behalf of the Chinese government and people, as well as in my own name, deepest condolences and sincere sympathies to Your Excellency, and through you to the government and people of Zimbabwe and to the bereaved family.
穆加贝先生是津巴布韦和非洲杰出的政治家和民族解放运动的领导人，生前多次访华，为推动中津、中非友谊合作做出了卓越的贡献。他的逝世是贵国人民的巨大损失，也使中国人民失去了一位老朋友、好朋友。
Mr. Mugabe was an outstanding statesman and leader in the national liberation movement of Zimbabwe and Africa. He visited China many times and made remarkable contribution to the friendship and cooperation between Zimbabwe and China and between Africa and China. His passing is a great loss for the Zimbabwean people. Moreover, the Chinese people are also deprived of an old and good friend.
中方珍视中津兄弟般的传统友谊，愿同津巴布韦政府和人民一道，继续扩大和深化双方合作领域的合作，推动中津全面战略合作伙伴关系不断向前发展。宣读完毕。
China cherishes its long-standing brotherly friendship with Zimbabwe. We stand ready to work with the government and people to further expand and deepen cooperation across the board and make steady progress in our comprehensive strategic partnership of cooperation. That is the end of the message. I thank you.
Thank you for those comforting words Mr. Gu Shengzhu said. May I now invite His Excellency Nikolai V. Krasnikov, Ambassador of Russia to Zimbabwe, to deliver his message. Your Excellency, sir.
Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Zimbabwe, Comrade Emmerson Mnangagwa, the Mugabe family, the people of the Republic of Zimbabwe, Your Excellencies, heads of states and governments, distinguished elders and leaders, comrades. On behalf of the President of the Russian Federation, Vladimir Putin, and the people of Russia, I extend the deep condolences on the passing away of Comrade Robert Mugabe, the founding father and the former President of the Republic of Zimbabwe, a national hero. Comrade Mugabe has led his people to independence and forth on along the turbulent road of socio-economic progress. He has become an icon of Africa liberation struggle, a beacon of light for those in the whole world who fight oppression. In Russia, he will always be remembered as a staunch supporter of developing the deep-rooted cordial relations between our nations that, under the new dispensation, has strengthened for the mutual benefit of our people. The legacy of Comrade Mugabe lives on as the government of the Russian Federation firmly stands by the government of the Republic of Zimbabwe, which delivers necessary reforms and freedoms inside the country, despite the illegitimate and brutal sanctions imposed from the outside. May the soul of Comrade Robert Mugabe rest in the eternal peace, and long live Zimbabwe.
Thank you, Your Excellency Krasnikov. Sir, Zeterapi choir, please. Oh, band, sorry. Zeterapi band. Sinokutenda ikwaya, siyalibonga bekwaya. It is my privilege and honor at this juncture of our proceedings to invite His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Zimbabwe, Head of State and Government and Commander-in-Chief of the Zimbabwe Defense Forces, Comrade Emerson Dambudzo Mnangagwa, to address the monarch. Your Excellency, sir,
our Director of Ceremonies, the Minister of Home Affairs, Heritage, Ambassador Matema, the bereaved Mugabe family, the First Lady Amaxila Mnangagwa, in absentia, Honorable Vice President, General Retired Dr. Chiwenga Enama Chiwenga, Honorable Vice President, Retired Colonel Cassidy Mohadi and Amai Mohadi, Your Excellencies, Heads of State and Government, Your Excellencies, former Heads of State and Government, Prime Ministers and Deputy Prime Ministers and special envoys who are present, the Honorable Speaker of the National Assembly of Zimbabwe, Advocate Jeff Denda, President of the Senate, Honorable Chinomona, the Chief Justice, Honorable Justice L. Malawa, members of the Politburo and Central Committee, members of the Diplomatic Corps, dignitaries and delegations from different parts of the world, representatives of our political bodies here in Zimbabwe, war veterans, war collaborators, ex-detainees here present, my fellow monarchs, ladies and gentlemen, comrades and friends, on Friday, 6th September 2019, a dark cloud loomed over and enveloped our country when the founding father of independent Zimbabwe, our revolutionary icon, statesman, leader, wartime commander, and former president, Comrade Robert Mugabe, passed on at a hospital in Singapore. A giant tree of Africa has fallen. Indeed, the bold, steadfast, and resolute revolutionary Comrade Robert Mugabe is no more, taken away from us, the people he fought hard to free, liberate and empower us. Taken away from a continent into which he was born, a continent he loved, inspired, and sought always to inculcate a sense of pride, independence, and freedom, seeking always to carry on the torch of his generation, a torch of heroic nationalism, patriotism, sacrifice, unity, and freedom. Thanks to Comrade Robert Mugabe and his rare breed of Pan-Africanists, nationalists, and freedom fighters. The once shackled Africa is forever free. Today, Zimbabwe is mourning the demise of a great son of the soil, a visionary and champion of our empowerment. Today, Southern Africa mourns the sad loss of a frontliner. Today, Africa weeps, grieving over the loss of a true Pan-African. Our motherland is in tears, our region is in grief, and our continent is in sorrow. Above all, a family is stricken and in deep sorrow. On behalf of the government and people of Zimbabwe, the ruling parties and PF, the party of our late founding father, and indeed also on behalf of all the progressive political parties, may I yet again convey my deepest heartfelt condolences to the Mugabe family, especially Amai Grace Mugabe and the children on this sad bereavement. We empathize with you. It is our loss together. Allow me to thank the former First Lady, Her Excellency Amai Grace Mugabe and the family, for looking after and caring for our commander during his illness, right through to the end. The fortitude, commitment, and love you exemplified is admirable and should forever be emulated. Tinotenda mai siyabonga mama. Be rest assured that you will continue to have my support and that of my government in these moments of grief. Comrades and friends, the late founding father, Comrade Mugabe, was a great scholar, a thinker, a teacher, and above all, a true African. He taught a generation, led a nation, inspired a continent, spoke for the oppressed, and defined the politics and economics of an epoch. The man who lies with us was for years our leader, our commander, mentor, and our president, both in the party and in government. Among the mourners gathered here are many fellow comrades from the region and continent and the world over, who went and fought alongside our dearly departed father. They are elder statesmen, presidents and prime ministers, great men and women, young and old, as well as these dignitaries from all corners of the world, pulled here by the demise of this colossal Comrade Robert Mugabe. Today, we all grieve together, feeling the void he has left behind. We are humbled by your presence here to mourn with us. We are equally comforted by the many more who could not be with us physically, but sent moving tributes and expressed their deepest condolences. For many years and the generations to come, we shall continue to draw inspiration from the life, the leadership, the courage, valor, and bravery of these great men we here fondly called Kushungo, Kushungo, Kushungo. A true statesman who recently defended our country throughout his life. The founding president of the Republic of Zambia, Dr. Mzee Kenneth David Kaunda, and Comrade Mugabe were the two only survivors from the generation of leaders of the frontline states. The rest have been passed on, such as the late Comrades Agostino Neto of Angola, Cesare Kama of Botswana, Samora Moses Machel of Mozambique, and Julius Mwalimu Kambarage Nyerere of Tanzania. Now, Mzee Kenneth David Kaunda remains alone. May the good Lord continue to watch over him. These gallant men will forever remain the symbol of Africa's struggles for independence and statehood. It is now incumbent on us who remain in the land of the living to carry on the rich heritage they bequeath to us. I want to thank you all who continue to console our nation, sharing our grief. Your presence in such huge numbers today and your kind words of comfort from across nations and continents is solemn and a strong statement. A statement which exposes a lie heavily sponsored by a retrogressive narrative, falsely framing the late Comrade Mugabe, giving him many false names, routinely and systematically vilifying him. But today, the truth is laid bare and open. We honor and remember our late African icon in our special own way, demonstrating that he had made friends, allies, and followers. As he moves on from this life into another, his star rises. It shines high and bright. We who remain shall continue to hear his rich, brave, defiant, and inspiring voice, which we grew accustomed to on various international platforms beyond his grave, encouraging and warning us to be vigilant and astute, always guarding and protecting our freedom, our independence, and indeed our God-given resources. As Africa moves further towards integration and economic prosperity, let us all stand ready to take up the cause which the generation of our late commander fought for. Let us boldly play our part in setting the wrongs of the world right. We must continue to challenge an unfair world, opposing justice, racism, and all forms of oppression of man by man. As Zimbabwe, we shall ride on education and high interest levels bequeathed to us by our late great teacher, and educated. As a visionary, he understood the importance of a solid education, as well as science and technology in the future world. As Africa, let us find our niche within the fast unfolding fourth industrial revolution, leveraging on our youthful populations, abundant and untapped natural resources, and expansive combined market. We dare not be left behind. Our destiny is in our hands. The late Comrade Mugabe and other founding fathers of our continent played their part. Let us now play our part. Comrades, the policies of our late revolutionary icon with regards to peace and security were not only defining in ensuring the territorial integrity of our great country, but had a far-reaching impact on the region and the continent as a whole. His strong stance on the need to protect and preserve African independence was evident within the frontline states during the fight against apartheid and in the management, prevention and resolution of conflicts on the continent at large. To this day, the esteemed reputation of the Zimbabwe Defense Forces on the international peace and security platform, as evident by their successful participation in various United Nations missions, are a result of the unquestionable leadership of our late former president. As Africa boldly operationalized the African continental free trade area, let us be emboldened by the ideals of the late Comrade Mugabe, who was one of the consistent champions of African unity, industrialization, inter-African trade, as well as regional and continental integration. Without peace and security on the continent, sustainable economic development will be elusive. Let us therefore, as children of this continent, protect the love, the peace, the harmony, and unity that our founding fathers worked so hard to attain. As Africa rises, booms and takes its rightful place as a powerhouse on the world arena, there is no place for hate, division, and disunity among us within the continent. This was the legacy the late Comrade Robert Mugabe imparted and leaves behind for us. Your Excellencies, heads of government, comrades and friends, as we mourn this great son of Africa, we also remember and celebrate his tenacious and fearless adherence to principles. Quoting the late Kwame Nkrumah, he constantly reminded us that, and I quote, principles should never be sacrificed on the altar of expediency, end of quote. Under the leadership and guidance of our iconic leader, we fought for democracy and universal adult suffrage. My government will continue to consolidate, deepen, and entrench democratic tenets, constitutionalism, and rule of law, always guiding our peace, our unity, and our stability. Beyond political independence, we boldly tackled the age-old national question that is of our land, which had been occupied by settlers for over a century. To him, this was the clemency of all grievances of our people. As a result of his unflinching stance, the land has now been reunited with the people, and the people have now been united with their land. Today, over 665,000 families have benefited from the Land Reform Program, which our revolutionary icon led from the front. Allow me to state that our land reform will never be reversed. It is sacred, complete and finished. We remain firm and unshakable on this matter. Now the challenge for us is to be productive as we modernize and mechanize our agricultural processes. We must equally use our land sustainably, be it in agriculture, mining, tourism, so that we bequeath it to our future generations. Distinguished guests, comrades and friends, our late former president challenged a faulty world whereby the selfish sought itself right. He challenged the great powers and the deep-vested global interests. Our great leader has set a key principle of the United Nations Charter, which asserts the sovereign equality of nations and proclaims inalienable rights of nations, big and small, strong and weak. For that boldness, he was repaid through illegal, ruinous and spiteful sanctions, which our country languishes under this day. As we bid our founding father farewell, our resolve as a people is not broken. More than ever before, we are determined to grow our economy and improve the quality of life of our people. We are moving our country forward along the path of sustainable development towards a modern, decentralized and prosperous society, free from poverty and corruption. Indeed, our success is inevitable, building on the foundations laid by our veteran leaders, such as late Comrade Mugabe. We will constantly reform and improve our social, economic, and political systems and institutions. Putting the interests of our great country first, we will continuously reconcile the national and global realities, informed and guided by the ever-changing aspirations of our people. Zimbabwe is all about business. We are in transition and welcome investors. In doing so, we seek to buttress and augment our sovereign independence through partnerships founded on mutual respect. Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, the heritage left us by our founding father is that of a peaceful world where nations trade and cooperate for the collective good and a shared future. My government shall play its part in the achievement of world peace as well as an empowered, integrated, and economically prosperous Africa. All guns on the continent must be silenced. Our people must have adequate food and shelter, health, water, and sanitation. The women, the youth, and those with disabilities must be empowered and have equal access to opportunities so that they thrive and realize their full potential in their mother country. Under the Second Republic, we announced a policy of engagement and engagement. The former to foster relations with countries we are not related to in the past, and the latter in in respect of those nations which had disengaged with us, our arms remain stretched out with a genuine heart of friendship and cooperation. There is no place in our modern world for unilateral punitive sanctions imposed in pursuit of selfish interests and undue influence in colonial time expansionism. As we mourn our revolutionary icon, we call for the unconditional and immediate lifting of the sanctions imposed on us. We invite the world to wake and walk with us into a brighter future for our people, our region, and our continent. As Zimbabwe free of the albatross of sanctions is indeed of greater benefit to the world, we thank SADC, the African Union, and the progressive world for standing with us throughout these years of immense hardships and sanctions. We stand emboldened by the recent declaration by SADC, setting aside the 25th of October as a day to call for the unconditional removal of the illegal sanctions imposed on Zimbabwe. May the world honor the late comrade Mugabe by ensuring that sanctions encumbering Zimbabwe are immediately removed. We say, give our country a rebirth and a new start. Remove sanctions now. We do not deserve them. Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, colleagues, and friends, allow me once again to thank you all, you who have come to mourn with us and give our founding father and former president such a resounding send-off. Zimbabwe will forever remember this grand gesture of solidarity and friendship. We will continue to count on you, your support, in our quest to leapfrog our development, grow our economy, and improve the quality of life of our people. Though we may be praised on every side, we are not crushed. Although perplexed, we are not in despair. Tomorrow is a brighter day. Weeping may last for the night, but joy comes in the morning. As we say our goodbyes to our late great national hero and the son of the continent, Zimbabwe shall always stand with Africa and for what is right. This is our tribute to our great liberator, founding father, teacher, and empowerer, the late comrade Gabriel Mugabe. As we prepare for his interment, we continue to pray that Almighty God rest his soul in eternal peace. We shall remain guided by the Mugabe family as we go forward. God bless you all! God bless Zimbabwe! I thank you.
Thank you, choir. Thank you, Your Excellency, for the comforting and inspiring speech. Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Zimbabwe, Comrade Emerson Mnangagwa, it is now time for body viewing by our distinguished guests. As the body viewing goes on, Your Excellency, the choir will sing soft music. Your Excellency, body viewing will be done in the following order. First, former First Lady Amai Grace Mugabe, representing the family. Then comes His Excellency the President of the Republic of Zimbabwe, Comrade Emerson Mnangagwa, followed by heads of state, followed by vice presidents, followed by former heads of states, followed by heads of delegation, followed by African Union Commission representative, followed by SADC Executive Secretary, followed by COMESA Secretary General, and then followed the COMESA Secretary General, followed by our service chiefs, led by CDF. I thank you. Choir, please.
So now the keynote address has been given. We've heard eulogies from across the continent, and now that final farewell from all the dignitaries who've converged upon our capital, Harare, to bid farewell to Robert Gabriel Mugabe. And that body viewing, of course, shall be led by the former First Lady and the widow of Robert Mugabe, Grace Ntombizodwa Mugabe, and her two sons and daughter Bona. And there we see epic images there as she views that man alongside her sons. And remember, this is a union blessed in 1996 by April of 1996 when they wed. And now she is widowed, left with 3 children and 2 grandchildren. As body viewing continues with dignitaries from across Africa, those who gave keynote addresses, including those that did not. Of course, not all could speak, but in their heart of hearts, they sing a song, a memory of a person that indeed altered their lives one way or the other. There, draped in that iconic flag that we call ours, lies the body of Robert Gabriel Mugabe. Lauded, of course, in the keynote speech as a true African, a true teacher. Those filing past are elders in their countries, they're leaders in their countries, yet students to Robert Gabriel Mugabe. Slowly ascending there is KK Kenneth David Buchizia Kaunda. And Kenneth is actually just a few months younger than Robert Gabriel. He was born on the 28th of April in 1924. And our beloved Bob, 21st February of the same year, 1924. And that is he. Reflecting on a friend, no doubt a very touching moment. And as you can see, his lips move, an impassioned speech to his friend. While he speaks to that lifelessness, it is a message indeed that shall be conveyed by the gods. Just a little over 2 months age difference, Robert and Kenneth. And there's Olusegun Obasanjo. They used to be sparring partners as well as colleagues, disagreeing on certain issues of statecraft, agreeing on others, and that yet is the legacy of Robert Mugabe. Those even who did not entirely agree with him all the time remember him fondly and indeed accompany him on this journey. Yet another colleague there, that was Sam Nujoma, as we see the First Lady and Amai Mugabe in conversation there. Just falling shy of his son, Joseph Kabila, who also made the trip down to Zimbabwe to say, "Fare thee well, great friend of the Democratic Republic of Congo." Defending Congolese sovereignty. And there goes Jacob Gedleyihlekisa Zuma, former president of the Republic of South Africa. RB there. And indeed, Dr. Segomena Lawrence Tax there, amongst those amongst the mourners today. She's the SADC Executive Secretary. You may remember, of course, that she came round the other year soliciting the vote here in Zimbabwe for that position, as members of Zimbabwe's political terrain also make their way to bid farewell to Robert Gabriel Mugabe. Chaurai Muteki, one of the leaders of the opposition, contested in the elections last year. Professor Lovemore Maduku over there, another sparring partner. And there's Arthur Oliver Guseni Mtambara. We had him in the studio the other day and he gave us nuggets of his life around Robert Mugabe. With regards that is the leader of the Opposition Movement for Democratic Change Alliance, Nelson Chamisa. And regards Maduku, he was another sparring partner indeed. Famous words coming there from Robert Mugabe, who always questioned Maduku's outfit. The NCA, as we see former Vice President Pelekezela Mpogo. President Mugabe always used to think that Maduku's outfit had him as the leader, him as the deputy, him as the membership. Maduku, 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 he would say. General Philip Valerio Sibanda also making his way up there amidst other military personnel to say farewell. Commander-in-Chief of the Zimbabwe Defense Forces. Farewell. A man fondly referred to either as Bob or Baba Chatunga. Chatunga's father. And indeed, we did see Chatunga take his role comforting the widow, his mother, Grace. That is Paradzai Willings Zimondi of the Zimbabwe Prisons and Correctional Services, ZPCS. Because the man, Robert, meant many things to many different people. Those are his comrades alongside whom he fought for independence of the country. They as guerrillas, they as war veterans, he as a nationalist, alongside names like Joshua Mqabo Gonyongo Lonkomo, Herbert Wiltshire Chitepo, Edgar Tekere, Zimbabwe, as you watch this, is actually shedding a crucial bit of its DNA, shedding a very important bit of its history. It was always perceived and regarded that with the fall of Robert Mugabe, with the demise of Robert Mugabe, with his last breath, indeed, an important piece of history will have been sealed and closed off, because he represented a very important piece of Zimbabwean history. And while his contemporaries in the arena of politics, his peers, have all left the scene, he waited, watched and waited as they left, exited the stage, because in his hand was the biro with which he would eventually sign off that part of history, seal it, put a full stop, and say farewell. And after what has been a pretty brief body viewing session, it indeed is farewell. His casket is now being sealed. That shall be his home, that capsule, until that bugle sounds, a bugle that shall summon all past, present, and future who shall walk this sacred planet, that they may have another dance at existence. But until then, this indeed is the end. Defeated only by death, he posted a respectable innings of 95 years. So it is indeed roughly within the next 30 days that there shall be the completion of construction of a mausoleum that shall bear the body. And now some crucial announcements obviously being made at the National Sports Stadium, and let us be privy to them and hear what is being announced right now, because it shall give us direction.
Thank you. May we all rise.
Honor of that man as he prepares to leave the building. As great as he have done in the past. An unprecedented moment, of course, for the Republic of Zimbabwe that has never known such grief at such a level.
We are now seeing the parade preparing for the last respect. The last and highest form of respect is a national salute, where we will see the parade presenting arms, and at the same time, the Zimbabwe National Army Artillery Brigade delivering 21 gun salute, while the Air Force of Zimbabwe K-8 jets from number 2 Squadron execute a fly past. This is the highest and last respect for the late former president and national hero, Comrade Robert Mugabe.
So now the crowd gathered to bid farewell revels in the salute of the cannons. This is the moment of celebration, celebrating that life, bidding farewell to that life And indeed, this is what the death of somebody as great as Robert Mugabe, with a very diverse legacy as Robert Mugabe, will bring. Reminiscent, of course, of Henry Scott Holland and his epic words. Death is nothing at all. I have only slipped into the next room. I am I and you are you. Whatever we were to each other, that we are still. Call me by my old familiar name. Speak to me in the easy way which you always used to. Put no difference in your tone. Wear no forced air of solemnity or sorrow. Laugh as we always laughed at the little jokes we enjoyed together. Play, smile, think of me, pray for me. Let my name be ever the household word that it always was. Let it be spoken without effect, without the trace of shadow on it. Life means all that it ever meant. It is the same as it ever was. There is unbroken continuity. Why should I be out of mind because I am out of sight? I am waiting for you, for an interval, somewhere very near, just around the corner. All is well. And indeed, all is well because of those sounds we're getting of celebration. Nothing has changed. He is remembered. And he's remembered and celebrated by his own. Is played and observed by the band. There, the band and the choir sing in unison that national anthem of the Republic of Zimbabwe. It is widely expected, of course, that after this ceremony, this body may very well be taken back to Kutama, Zimba communal lands, the rural home of Robert Gabriel Mugabe, where for one last time he shall be amongst his own, before being brought back to await his new home, presumably a mausoleum for him that shall be constructed at the National Shrine, the National Heroes Acre, which is just a couple of furlongs really across from where this stadium is.
The next item on the agenda for today's program is the release of 95 doves.
Doves are going to be released. 95 doves will be released, one to mark each year that Robert Gabriel Mugabe existed on this earth. If he had his way, there would have been 100 doves, but 5 will have to stay in captivity because his innings became 95. And there we see them hovering over the stadium, celebrating the life of Robert Mugabe, celebrating freedom, and with his spirits they roam, and with his spirit they play in the free air of the nation of Zimbabwe, in the National Sports Stadium, accompanied by celebratory chants from those in that stadium.
And all their excellencies who are here today with us. I wish to thank you all for coming to this important national event.
On many occasions, of course, in the past, at his birthdays, the 21st February movement, as it is coined, he would release balloons. Today, indeed, it is doves that have replaced the balloons because they're flying for one last time. We, of course, always used to have a feeling as he aged and became advanced in age and kept adding balloons that he is probably going to get to an age where the balloons will carry him off one day because he really wanted to hit the innings of 100 and not more. But today he really has been
a special announcement, ladies and gentlemen,
in the hearts of those
His
doves.
Excellency, the President of the Republic of Zimbabwe and his entourage have left. Our foreign guests, may you please remain seated. You will be guided accordingly as you leave for your vehicles. Let's take note. Thank you.
Of course, the protocol is being spelled out to the people who are in this stadium. The government delegation will leave first, and then indeed our visitors are being implored to stay put. They shall be told of where they'll be traveling to and all other formalities of protocol. And so that delegation leaves. But not, of course, without having observed the body being repatriated from this stadium to its next destination. A key moment in this long sunset. The sun has indeed set upon Robert Mugabe. But certainly not on his legacy. that body is the embodiment of the spirit of the liberation struggle. Nzira Zamasoja, an instructive song on how the then guerrillas were to treat the ordinary masses, the civilians, during the liberation struggle. An instructive manual which, if we follow today, we will become a better nation. Treat the next person with respect, with honor, with love. Be honest and earnest in your dealings. Indeed, even the national anthem speaks to the way people ought to behave, especially the leadership. And may leaders be exemplary, it says. And you may remember that this manual is one that was borrowed by the nationalists who were markedly inspired by not only Marxism, but also Maoism by Mao Zedong. And this is where they drew the wisdom of how to treat each other, how to treat the masses. Which explains, of course, why we have a very strong and respectable delegation today coming in from China. And earlier on, they also delivered their keynote address. Of course, we are broadcasting across the world, really, and we are very appreciative of your feedback on social media. A lot of people watching from a lot of different places, getting very good feedback. Masimba Birwasha there giving us his feedback that he's also following with us as Etienne Mukunda Eve Kawadza in the United States of America. Thank you, Etienne, so much for the coverage. Lorraine Mapala Piri watching from Mulai, that beautiful city of beautiful people. Mary Ann Kirk is in Edinburgh, Scotland. Whilst Hilda Moyo is watching from South Africa. Angel Woyera Tembo, we're getting your feedback loud and clear from Blantyre, Malawi, our home away from home. A very warm part of Africa, and very beautiful people. All the way from Deutschland, Valerie Mashoko. Daniel Chundiza is actually watching from Australia, saying it's 8 p.m. Saturday night. Thank you so much for the coverage. My eyes are so full of tears right now. Your eyes are full of tears. Our hearts are full of love for you. Indeed, wherever in the world you're watching, you're on Zim Papers Television Network. We have been giving you this coverage of Kushungo saying farewell to the people amongst which he lived. And we're so appreciative of you and your viewership, and indeed we'll strive to continue to better our work here at ZTN, because those people who are watching right now on our platforms, you are our bosses.
Let's have order, ladies and gentlemen, as His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Victoria Guinea, His Excellency Theodore
Nigel Gwirikwiti, we're getting your feedback. And we'll be going back to the National Sports Stadium, where we're going to have Blessing Mnatsi also delivering what he has gleaned and what he has gotten from being on the ground in this stadium for you. So right now we're going to be crossing over to Blessing Mnatsi. Blessing Mnatsi, as you may know now, because this has become home for a lot of you, Blessing has been giving us tip-top coverage on the ground from the Blue Roof, the airport. He's been traveling for us. He's been doing a lot of good work on the ground for us. And indeed, we wait to hear from him. So Blessing, if you can hear me, thank you for looking good for and on behalf of ZTN, dressed very dapper. Can you give us a lowdown on what you have gleaned from being on the ground there at the National Sports Stadium today? Your thoughts, Blessing Mnatsi.
Robert, it has been an eventful day right here at the National Sports Stadium, where we were having the official state funeral for Zimbabwe's former president, Robert Mugabe. And I must say I spent the whole afternoon right within the crowds, and a lot of energy and quite a befitting send-off for Zimbabwe's former statesman, just judging from the number of African leaders that did come through just to pay their last respect and to show gratitude for the role that the former president did towards vision for a united Africa, a more prosperous Africa, and most importantly, a self-sufficient one. A bit of an awkward moment for South Africa's president, who is the current African Union chairperson, as he was about to make his speech. The crowd obviously not very warm towards him because of the current xenophobic attacks that were happening in South Africa over the past few weeks. Quite contrary to his colleagues, former President Jacob Zuma and Thabo Mbeki, who received a resounding welcome when they did make their way into the stadium. But apart from that, a very eventful day, and proceedings will be carrying on at the State House, where Zimbabwe's President Emmerson Mnangagwa is going to be hosting the foreign delegates and leaders and former presidents that are here. A state banquet that's happening at State House.
Thank you, Blessing. But also people, our viewers here, are giving us feedback on our social media platforms. They want to know where the body may be going after this. They want to know where we're taking the body of Robert Gabriel Mugabe, where he will be lying in state tonight.
Initial indications from Leo Mugabe had been that the body will be going to Blue Roof, but I think we should be able to get a more clearer position in terms of what will be happening, because remember, we do have that funeral function that he alluded to at the National Heroes Acre tomorrow. So we just need to clarify with Leo, and we should be able to update our viewers on the accurate position, possibly within the next 1 or 2 hours.
Thank you, Blessing. Indeed, within the next 1 or 2 hours, we should be giving feedback to our viewers, because those are the important things that we need to know. We need to know what happens to the body, where the body is going today, and we need to know what, if any, activity is happening tomorrow, because we do know either today or tomorrow we wrap things up. People will then start dispersing. We wait for the mausoleum to be built and completed, and when it's erected, we will be updating people on that fresh place that this man who brought us here today will be lying for the rest of his duration here on this planet. We have been hearing commentary from the National Sports Stadium, and they said basically two things: give Robert Mugabe's sins to the devil and give his soul to God. Thank you, Blessing Nazi, for your update from the National Sports Stadium. We'll be reverting back to you as and when something breaks.
Absolutely, Robert. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So, and also to our viewers, we've actually started seeing the dignitaries making their way out of the National Sports Stadium, as we now can see the body leaving the National Sports Stadium as well. We were asking where the body is going. We shouldn't have asked, because we're ZTN, because wherever the news is happening, we will be there, and there we are. Now, if you weren't with us when we arrived at Zim Papers Television Network, this is the route that led us to where we were. This is the route that took us to this epic funeral. We didn't travel that fast, really, but that's the route that we took. We've been taking you on these trips. Yesterday, you were on our chopper, as we were following the chopper that was carrying President Robert Mugabe's body to Rufaro Stadium, where he really had a meeting with his people coming, lining up to see him, to say farewell. And this happened on two different parades in succession, yesterday and the day before. We were there, taking you there. Today, we went home, took the body, brought it to the National Sports Stadium, and we even left a trail so that you knew where we had traveled, how we had gotten here. And that's what we're doing right now. And we're getting indications, of course, that the body is in fact going to the Blue Roof residence of Robert Gabriel Mugabe. As you heard there, the leaders that are also making their way out of the National Sports Stadium will have a banquet hosted for them, a state banquet, presumably at State House, most likely. And a lot of them are expected to leave the Republic of Zimbabwe today, later on in the day, after, of course, the banquet. back to the body as curious onlookers follow that car. There, the dignitaries are leaving the stadium. We shall also be going to that banquet at State House. We don't want you to miss a thing. And indeed, like I said, we picked up two things from this funeral. Give Robert Mugabe's sins to the devil, give his soul to God. We will continue to track the body of Robert Mugabe as it goes to the Blue Roof, and we'll continue to broadcast from there when important issues break. And we shall also be giving you visuals indeed from State House where there's that banquet. But in the meantime, we'll take a breather and we will obviously show you images of the life and times of Robert Gabriel Mugabe.
Losing the person I loved the most was one of the hardest things I've ever had to face.
And because I was away from home, it made it much more difficult.
That is when I saw how important it is to have a friend.
A friend to ease the burden.
A friend to take care of things when you can't.
A friend to help you get home.
So here we are, still in ZTN, still following events around the main event which was today's funeral parade for the late founding president of the Republic of Zimbabwe, Robert Gabriel Mugabe, whose body we are now trekking as it makes its way back to his Blue Roof residence in Borrowdale. We shall be letting you know where that body is lying in state today and where it shall be going tomorrow and what shall happen tomorrow as the program of the day. Because indeed, we need to know whether something that was planned by the family to take the body to Murombezi in Mashonaland Central, in Mashonaland West, I beg your pardon, that the people there ought to meet one of their own in his home province. We need to know whether that will indeed go ahead as planned and scheduled. You will remember that a lot of things about this program were being tinkered with here and there, perfected, if you will, as we snaked our way through that program. And this is us going back to the Blue Roof, but let's retrace the route that we took to go to the National Sports Stadium, and it seems that it is the same route in reverse that they're taking to make their way to the Blue Roof residence of former President Robert Gabriel Mugabe. Of course, without sounding like a broken record, some of the things that will forever remain with us for a long time to come, beg your pardon, include that national flag that you saw draped upon the casket of Robert Mugabe. So, as the Prime Minister-elect, waiting for the coming of a new country, a fresh Zimbabwe, it came to mind that there wasn't a banner that spoke to the dreams, hopes, and aspirations of the nationals of that country to come. And Robert called upon a friend of his, Catholic priest, Father Emmanuel Ribeiro, who was also known to love symbolism and art. And that same father was actually at the Blue Roof on Friday. And so he implored Father Ribeiro. And there was obviously Frederick Shaw, who was part of that team as well. And there was on that team Mr. Chigwendere. So those three were tasked with coming up with the flag. After a while, Father Emmanuel Ribeiro created his 5 prototypes. He went with them they were taken rather by Frederick Shaw to the then Prime Minister-elect. Robert looked at the 5, saw one that was striking and spoke to him, his heart, and he decided that would be the flag of independent Zimbabwe. And his choice is what you see fluttering over our great land, that green, yellow, red, black, and white flag. It is a personal choice of Robert Mugabe, something that he has left us as an identity. Not only that, after we entered independent Zimbabwe and little over a decade using Nkosi Sikelel' Africa, Ishekomborera Africa as our national anthem, he felt we needed to sing our own song, to sing a song that spoke to the color, the caliber, the quality of the Zimbabwean people. And so, of course, he commissioned that a song be written. And there were 2 categories, really. One was penning the words of that anthem. and the other category was in providing the music to that national anthem. After the competition, a gentleman known as Solomon Mutswairo came out tops. He was a known literary giant and is a liberation war hero as we speak. He had written that poem, Blessed be the land of Zimbabwe. Ngaikomborerwe nyika yeZimbabwe. Galibusiswe ilizwe leZimbabwe. And that was the winning poem. But a national anthem would be just a national recitation if it is not accompanied by music. And on the music side, a gentleman who was in the band, the police band, is the one who sat down and wrote the music. He won on the music side. His name was and is Fred Changundega. Fred Changundega still lives to this day, and perhaps Zimbabweans need to hunt him down and thank him for that beautiful music rather than wait for our heroes to be remembered when they leave. Indeed, Frederick Changundega needs to be celebrated. And so on the 17th of April 1994, Robert Mugabe gave certificates and awards to those two winners, Solomon Mutswairo and Fred Changundega, at a ceremony at what was then the Sheraton Hotel's Harare International Conference Center. And when he handed that certificate to Fred Changundega, he said, "I give that award to Fred Changundega, but this is not Chakowega. This is for the nation. This is not your own. You have just given the whole country a gift." As we see now images going past Harare Sports Club on towards that other homecoming, State House and Zimbabwe House, where he lived as both Prime Minister and President. These are the avenues of Harare. So yes, we get yet again another gift, a gift of the national anthem, our national flag. And he, amongst others, fought long and hard to guarantee freedom, emancipation, and sovereignty, of course, for the people of Zimbabwe, as we continue to get those images of the body en route to the Blue Roof. You're probably seeing that little bottle of water. It is quite a sweltering day outside there in Harare. We're taking that turn into Chancellor Avenue. Chancellor Avenue starts from right there and will end real soon, one of the shortest roads in Harare and arguably in the nation as well. That is where you have State House and Zimbabwe House, a high security area, and you don't want people to ask you why you're milling around that place. Trust me, I'm not a fan of driving across it just in case the car fails. Then you have to explain yourself, because that is the seat that looks after the man at the helm of the Republic of Zimbabwe at any given time. And surprisingly, high security. It then joins into what is Borrowdale Road. Just after snaking round, you will then see it transform into Borrowdale Road. And a key interesting thing is, to your right, is St. George's College, a Catholic-run institution, one that Robert Mugabe, that is revered. That is Borrowdale Road now. And so time and time again he would be called to, and this is on public record that he would mention quite a number of times, he would be called to school. It's a boys' school, when one of his boys was ever so naughty. And they would call him and tell him to caution the kids. And he would also get a stern earful. You do know how these Catholic nuns can be. You may be the president, but here you're a father, you're a parent, and we will summon you and tell you to keep the kids in order. And indeed, after he was summoned and the nuns bit his ears off, that would cascade to the kids. Don't embarrass me by having me called to school to answer for your transgressions. Which is why many may think there's this mourning of a president, a leader, a nationalist. But first and foremost, before he left home, as he bit into that toast, he was the father, an ordinary man, just with extraordinary responsibilities. Today, he is in that entourage. He has passed on. And hopefully the counsel that he left his children is counsel that they shall carry, that shall guide them. There, as that body now hits the stretch towards Borrowdale. And today we say, "Oh Captain, my Captain, you have left us." And people are celebrating today the life of the icon, having to dry their tears and instead celebrate the good in his legacy, as Arthur Mtambara spoke about when he came to our studios. And the man is probably saying, "When I'm gone, release me, let me go. I have so many things to see and do. You mustn't tie yourself to me with too many tears, but be thankful we had so many good years. And at 95 years, that's a hell of a lot of years." Of course, we shall be giving you frequent updates with regards what happens after this. There are quite a number of questions. Of course, now, after the banquet, heads of state and their representatives who have graced this occasion will start to leave. And indeed, 30 days at least is the time it shall take to construct the mausoleum that should house the casket carrying the remains of President Robert Mugabe. Snaking his way yet again past Borrowdale Racecourse. That is the epic home of equestrian life in Zimbabwe. A lot of merit-rated races taking place there, including Africa's oldest sponsored race, the Castle Tankard. So yes, Zimbabwe has got a rich history of equestrian life and equestrian sport. And that's the route that we're trekking. How much longer before we get home? We shall be showing you that very soon so that you know what part of that journey we've already consumed and what part further we ought to go. Very soon we'll be getting to Sam Levy's village. It's a nice little upmarket establishment built by the Mogul who's now late. He really supported a lot of economic development and advancement and was pretty close to the late former president. as we see some people accompanying our cameras, making sure they're safe and absolutely sound. And so now we are at Sam Levis village. Let's show you the map, and this is where we are so far. There's Sam Levis village. Whoever's driving the red little line is just behind a bit. Oh, yes, they're with us. They've caught up. Feedback from you, our viewers. David Nsingo, thank you for your feedback. Toya Ioane, Pascal Leach, Dadirai Nanguya in the United Kingdom, Lucia Stella Mapugu. Indeed, we're getting your feedback here on ZTN. And indeed, we value that feedback. Marangi Tinashe, we're getting your feedback. And Clemens Kawenya is thankful for the quality of the images, and indeed we need to thank our gentlemen and ladies behind the scenes and carrying those cameras and making sure that we get the best images. Aubrey, Phil, Marufu, thank you for your feedback. And we always have Mighty Nai and Maita Dio, who are top supporters of ZTN. Bella Tom Japi, thank you. We're happy that we're reaching far and wide. Caspar Mukava Sambaza, thank you very much. And watching from Victoria Falls, Evans Makoni, we're ever so pleased. Munyarazi Sean Zepete is getting nostalgic following ZTN. Tawanda Mtlanga watches everything that we produce. Zamiwe Ngulue is watching us from Zambia and is sharing in mourning with the people of Zimbabwe. And a good shout out from Vigilant Viji Mulea. Indeed, we are well. And that is where we are now on the image. Fret not, we are about to get to the blue roof. Lucky Ngoshi is always watching our stuff, and she's always giving constructive criticism, telling us where she's not happy and asking us to tweak a couple of things. And indeed, what are we if we do not listen to criticism and improve upon that which you, our viewers, want? JC Makepe watching from Canada, while Rodney King Katandika professes to be watching from Kazakhstan. And thank you, Gail Gliwayo. You're watching from West Yorkshire in the United Kingdom. At home, we have Netsai Muparuri watching from the beautiful city of Mutare. From Gaborone in Botswana, Tendai Zindira. And of course, I'm having trouble believing that indeed Tendai Tawanda Musa is watching from Afghanistan, but we will just say. And to the left, yet again, we get to that iconic White House, the home of Philip Chiangwa, who we had earlier on one of our broadcasts a day or two ago as the brother of the late President Robert Mugabe. Philip Chiangwa, quite an interesting character. Himself a man of many quotable quotes. Perhaps the most interesting being, if being money is a visitor, why is it not visiting you? And apa unakesh. Indeed, as this progresses, we hope not only to have that on telephone interview that we did, but also to perhaps have him in the studio. Hastings Maponya is watching from Blantyre, Malawi. And from Welwyn in the United Kingdom, Charlene Ruafa. Richmond Fusira says, rest in peace, Kushungo, and he's watching from the beautiful town of Victoria Falls. ¿Cómo estás, amigo? Says Brian Marlon Kaswa from Costa Brava, Español. Jane Chirema is in Uzumba. And while many will be watching on Facebook, we've got a very respectable group of viewers also watching from our YouTube channel. We appreciate you. Much love. And Delia Chiwara, your time has come. You've been with us since we started broadcasting in the morning. Thank you for your loyalty. And Errol Benza, thank you. Carol Benza, we acknowledge you and we appreciate you watching us. Now they're going past Columbus Place in Borrowdale. That is Karakri. A road there in Borrowdale, that is the penultimate road, and now taking that turn into Borrowdale Brook Road. This is the final stretch. And I presume we're going to get that map to tell you that we finally arrived, from whence we shall know what happens next, what happens after this. It's been a long day. It's been a long day for our viewers. It's been a long day indeed for those who thronged the National Sports Stadium, which is why we value your viewership, because we know much as you want to watch, it does take a bit of investment to be watching on social media platforms. The cost of data and just your time, to share your time with us here on Zim Papers Television Network, is something that we greatly appreciate. Caspar Mukava Sambaza in Clapham, London. And Diswa Abi Jimmy has been watching us from the very beginning. Joyce Rupere watching from Portsmouth in the United Kingdom. And here is one Sizzler watching from Rio de Janeiro. Yes, this Sizzler is in Rio de Janeiro and not Jamaica. And in Port Elizabeth, South Africa, Pearl Jack. Glad you could join us. A top fan, Mash Ramai, we see you. And we're almost there at the Blue Roof. And we've arrived. Took a bit of a long time. You're pretty much used to us flying you to the Blue Roof. Today we decided to go by road. In South Africa on YouTube, we've got Against Mutangi. Nyari Taruziwa, thank you for your beautiful feedback. And you too, Precious Gwede, we see you. Indeed, Suj, we will not say your name, but thank you for the feedback and appreciating the quality and the clarity and the sound. You're watching from Highgate in London. from the United States of America, and Trent M. Kachi. And personally, probably a last shout out there to Munyaradzi Sean Zepete. He says he's been here since morning. I know he's been here following for the past 3 days, always giving us feedback. So thank you very much. And we're back at the Blue Roof now, and as you can see, people making plans there to take that casket back into the house. It shall presumably lie in state, perhaps there, but we will indeed give you feedback. And as you can see, there are dogs there, and I'll give you a very interesting story. President Mugabe loved the animals, and he was always known to be somebody who loved especially farm animals. But these dogs belonged to the First Lady, and the dogs really didn't like President Robert Mugabe. So one day they were sitting where you can see there at the porch eating peanuts, nzungu, and the First Lady was busy shelling the peanuts and eating them, and occasionally shelling the peanuts and giving them to the dogs, and the dogs would eat. Perhaps trying to reconcile with the dogs, which loved the First Lady and terribly detested him, he also decided, well, let me offer an olive branch or olive peanut, as it were, to these canine friends. So he shelled the peanuts and also gave them to the dogs. The dogs did not eat the peanuts. And I'm sure until his dying day, those dogs did not like him. They were not his friends. And he kept talking about that and laughing about that. And those were some of the anecdotes that he would share and give people in his lifetime. The lighter moments. You could write a whole book about Robert and the dogs. There, as the casket makes its way into the house, of course, a lot of people out there asking me how I know the story of the dogs. Trust me, I've got a lot of stories that I know, and a lot of stories that I can tell of the man behind the president, because when you spend time with him, you'd see an absolutely, totally different man who kept making you giggle. Another time, we sat around him and we were supposed to introduce ourselves. I stood up, probably the youngest in the room, and I was very shy. And I said, my name is Robert Mugabe. And before I said the next statement, he stopped me and said, Wakaba's Tarangwi. And right after that, we went round the room, and there's a fellow journalist called John Kachembere. So when he stood up and said, hello, Mr. President, my name is John Kachembere. Then he said, do you know they call me Kachembere out there? So there are a lot of stories, trust me, from Robert Mugabe. Perhaps I want to be president. From Robert Mugabe, beg your pardon, that we could share, that we got to see as we interacted as a media personnel with the man. And indeed, it is those small little things that we remember, those small little things that we reminisce on when we are looking back as a people and as a profession. There you see now images coming from the Blue Roof. Indeed, we shall also have people on the ground to get us information and updates on exactly what is going on. For now, we'll just go for a short breather. We'll be back with more images and indeed more information. Stay tuned.
Losing the person I loved the most was one of the hardest things I've ever had to face.
And because I was away from home, it made it much more difficult.
That is when I saw how important it is to have a friend.
A friend to ease the burden.
A friend to take care of things when you can't.
A friend to help you get home.
Welcome back. Indeed, we are still here. We're still tracking the body of the late President Robert Mugabe. And now he's at the Blue Roof. There we see some, I don't know whether to call them mourners, because they seem like they're celebrating, of course, the life of the late Robert Mugabe. There have been a lot of ensembles that have been coming together, providing music, song and dance for the mourners everywhere you went, really. The Blue Roof, also at the National Sports Stadium, and wherever we went, really, we're entertained. I think we've got Takuzwa Chiambakwe, who's actually on the ground for us at the Blue Roof, and as and when he's ready, he will tell us what's going on, and then we'll, before we close, at least we'll have told you what will be happening. You'll sleep while in the picture, knowing what is going to go on as we progress with this program. Now a word of prayer is being held in the house. Some of you, of course, were pleading with us to take you into the house. We most probably will do so, because obviously you want to see, to hear the plans, and you're saying, Zetien, take us into the house. And we are just making plans to do so and satisfy your thirst for news and information. So this is it for this lap of broadcasting that started in the morning. We're going to take a break and we're going to resume with another lap of broadcasting, the final lap of the day, when our people on the ground get information. Indeed, we shall have information for you from both the Blue Roof on the ground and also at State House on the ground to map that banquet and see what's going to happen. And indeed, we will close after giving you a comprehensive program of what is happening today and tomorrow and the wrap-up. I'm Robert Mugabe. Join me soon.